Ground beef is the most purchased meat product in the United States. More ground beef passes through American grocery checkouts every single week than any other cut, any other protein, any other meat product by volume. It goes into burgers and meatballs and tacos and pasta sauce and casseroles and meatloaf and 100 other things that show up on American dinner tables every night of the year. And yet almost nobody has ever stopped to ask whether the ground beef they are buying is actually good. Not safe. Safe is a given. We are talking about good, flavorful, worth the money. Better than the alternative sitting 2 feet away on the same shelf. We did the test nobody has done. We went to 14 of the biggest grocery stores in America, and we bought their ground beef. We cooked it blind. We scored it honestly. And what we found challenged assumptions we did not even know we were carrying into the test. We went to Walmart. We went to Costco. We went to Target, Aldi, Kroger, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Sam's Club, Publix, Sprouts, H-E-B, Meijer, Wegmans, and one more, 14 stores. One very important protein, real results. By the end of this video, you will know which store sells the ground beef actually worth putting on your table, which budget option outperformed products at twice the price, which premium grass-fed beef justified every cent of what it cost, and which familiar name brand turned in a result that will make you rethink your grocery habits permanently. Let us talk about how we ran the test. Ground beef testing requires more discipline than any other product we have tested in this series, because ground beef varies in fat content, and that variation affects everything. A 70-30 grind tastes completely different from a 93-7 grind, even if the beef quality underneath is identical. Fat carries flavor. Less fat means less flavor by definition. Comparing them directly would be comparing apples to something that is not an apple at all. So we standardized. We bought 80-20 ground beef from every store. 80% lean, 20% fat. This is the most widely available grind across all 14 retailers, and it is the grind most commonly used for burgers, which is what we tested with. Every pound of ground beef was formed into identical patties, 4 ounces each, 1 inch thick, same diameter, no seasoning, no salt, no pepper, no binders, no added anything. We wanted to taste the beef, just the beef. Every patty was cooked on the same cast iron griddle at the same temperature for the same amount of time. 3.5 minutes per side. No pressing, which squeezes out fat and juice. No flipping more than once. Cooked to the same internal temperature verified by the same instant read thermometer. No bun, no condiments, no toppings. Plain patty on a plain white plate, 5 tasters, all blind. Numbered plates, no labels, no store names, no prices visible until after every score was locked in. Each taster scored out of 10 for flavor, which covered the depth and character of the beef taste and the quality of the fat. For texture, dollars, which covered the tenderness of the bite, the juiciness of the interior, and the consistency of the grind. And for overall satisfaction, meaning if this burger showed up at your dinner table tonight with nothing on it, how happy would you be? Here is what we found. Store number 1, Walmart. Great value 80-20 ground beef. Price $3.78 per pound. Walmart's great value ground beef is the volume leader. More of this product moves through American grocery stores than any comparable product from any other retailer. This is the ground beef baseline for a significant percentage of the country. Cooked result. The patty cooked evenly. The shrinkage was moderate. The color on the exterior was a reasonable brown with acceptable crust development. The interior was cooked through with some retained moisture. The flavor was mild. Notably mild. There was a beef flavor present, but it was thin and lacked depth. The fat rendered properly, but contributed very little to the overall taste in the way good beef fat should. The finish was clean but also empty, meaning there was nothing lingering that made you want another bite. The texture was adequate. Not tough, not falling apart, but not particularly tender either. A competent burger with nothing exciting to say for itself. Score: 5.7 out of 10. The benchmark. The national average. Everything else in this test tells us how far from this number you can get in either direction by changing where you buy your ground beef. Store number 2, Costco. Kirkland Signature 80/20 ground beef. Price $4.49 per pound, sold in large bulk trays typically between 5 and 10 pounds. Costco's ground beef is one of their most purchased refrigerated products, and it carries the Kirkland Signature guarantee that the house brand will meet or exceed what a name brand offers at the same price. Cooked result: a meaningful step above Walmart. The crust developed better, suggesting a higher quality fat distribution through the grind. The interior was noticeably juicier. The beef flavor was more present and had more depth. Something in the back of the taste profile suggested cattle with a better diet or a fresher grind, though we could not confirm either from the test alone. 2 tasters independently noted that this tasted like beef rather than tasting like ground beef, which sounds like a subtle distinction but captures something real. Processed ground beef at the budget end of the market often tastes more like the category than like the animal. The Costco product tasted more like the animal. Ari, 7.0 out of 10. Strong result for the price. The bulk format means a higher upfront cost, but a lower per pound cost for households that use ground beef regularly. If you have a Costco membership and you eat burgers or cook with ground beef more than once a week, buying in bulk and freezing portions is a genuinely smart strategy. Store number 3, Target. Good and Gather 80/20 ground beef. Price $5.49 per pound. Target's Good and Gather line has expanded steadily into their grocery section, and their ground beef represents a mid-tier option positioned between the budget warehouse options and the premium natural and organic alternatives. Cooked result: a solid performer. The crust developed well. The interior was juicy and the beef flavor was noticeably more present than the Walmart or Costco options. There was a richness to the fat that came through clearly, a warmth and depth that made the patty feel more satisfying. Not remarkable, but genuinely good. A reliable everyday ground beef that would produce a better burger than most people are currently making at home without requiring a specialty store trip. 7.2 out of 10. Target's house brand earned a respectable score. For households that already shop at Target for groceries, upgrading to the Good and Gather ground beef over a cheaper alternative is a worthwhile investment. Store number 4, Aldi. Black Angus 80/20 ground beef. Price $4.19 per pound. Aldi carries a Black Angus labeled ground beef in their meat section, and by this point in our testing series, we have learned that the Aldi offering in any category deserves to be taken seriously before the result is seen. Cooked result: outstanding. Better than we expected at the price point, and better than several options costing significantly more. The crust was exceptional. A deep, even sear that spoke to good fat content and a fresh grind. The interior was genuinely juicy, the kind of juicy that requires you to be careful with your first bite. The beef flavor was rich, layered, and present from the first moment to the finish. The fat rendered in a way that contributed actively to the flavor, rather than just lubricating the patty. One taster said this was the first burger of the test that made them forget they were working and just enjoy eating something. The scores were locked in blind. The price was $4.19 per pound. 8.0 out of 10. Aldi delivers what is rapidly becoming one of the defining findings of this entire testing series. At the budget price point, their product does not just compete, it often leads. Store number 5, Kroger. Private Selection 100% grass-fed 85/15 ground beef. Price $7.99 per pound. A note on methodology here. Kroger's premium house brand ground beef in the grass-fed category came in at 85/15 rather than 80/20. We included it because it represents the clearest premium offering in their house brand lineup, and because we wanted to see whether the grass-fed quality difference was visible, even through the slight reduction in fat content. Cooked result: The crust development was excellent. The grass-fed beef flavor was immediately distinctive. Grass-fed beef has a different flavor profile from grain-finished beef. It is leaner tasting, slightly more mineral, with a depth and complexity that is genuinely different rather than simply more of the same. Some tasters find this flavor more interesting. Some find it less familiar and therefore less satisfying. Our panel was split, which we think is the honest and accurate result. What was undeniable was the quality of the beef itself. The flavor was clean, complex, and completely natural tasting, with no processed or artificial undertones whatsoever. Score: 8.2 out of 10. The grass-fed profile is an acquired taste, but the quality is real. If you are specifically seeking grass-fed beef for dietary or ethical reasons, Kroger's private selection delivers an excellent result. Store number 6. Trader Joe's, 85.15 ground beef. Price $5.99 per pound. Trader Joe's sources their beef carefully, and their ground beef has a devoted following among their regular shoppers. Their standard grind comes in at 85.15 rather than 80.20, which we noted in scoring. Cooked result: very good. The crust developed beautifully. The interior was juicy despite the slightly leaner grind. The beef flavor was clean, present, and satisfying, with a natural depth that spoke to quality sourcing. There was nothing processed tasting anywhere in the profile. Several tasters, who preferred a slightly leaner burger, specifically placed this among their favorites of the test. War. 8.1 out of 10. Trader Joe's earned a strong result. For shoppers who prefer a slightly leaner grind without sacrificing flavor, this is an excellent choice at a competitive price. Store number 7. Whole Foods. 365 80/20 ground beef. Price $6.99 per pound. Whole Foods brings their house brand ground beef to the test, alongside their premium sourcing standards, which require that all beef sold in their stores meets specific animal welfare and antibiotic-free criteria. Cooked result: excellent across every category. The crust was outstanding, deep and even with excellent color. The interior was very juicy. The beef flavor was rich, complex, and deeply satisfying. There was a clarity to the taste that felt like good ingredients handled well. The fat rendered beautifully and contributed actively to the flavor from beginning to finish. The aftertaste was clean and long-lasting in this best possible sense, meaning you wanted more of it. Score: 8.5 out of 10. Whole Foods delivered one of the strongest performances of the test. The sourcing standards appear to have a direct and measurable effect on the eating experience, which is not always the case when you are paying for ethical certifications alongside quality. Store number 8. Sam's Club. Members Mark 80/20 ground beef. Price: $3.98 per pound in bulk. Sam's Club is the Walmart warehouse competitor, and their Members Mark ground beef competes directly with the Costco Kirkland product in the bulk value category. Cooked result: similar to Walmart but marginally better. A slightly better crust, a slightly more present beef flavor, marginally more juicy in the interior, but it fell short of the Costco Kirkland product in every meaningful way. The flavor was thinner, the texture was slightly less cohesive, and the overall satisfaction score was lower across all 5 tasters. Bore. 6.1 out of 10. A functional bulk ground beef at a budget price. If you are cooking for large numbers and cost is the primary driver, this works. If you have a choice between this and the Kirkland product at similar per pound pricing, Costco wins without meaningful debate. Store number 9. Publix. Greenwise Organic 80/20 ground beef. Price $8.49 per pound. Publix's Greenwise line is their premium organic offering, and their organic ground beef carries USDA organic certification, meaning no antibiotics, no added growth hormones, and organic feed. Cooked result: among the very best of the entire test. The crust was spectacular, deep, even, and complex in a way that told our tasters something genuinely different was happening in the pan. The interior was extraordinarily juicy. The beef flavor was rich, layered, and satisfying in a way that felt qualitatively different from the conventional options, even at the premium end of the price range. The organic label here appeared to reflect real quality in the eating experience, rather than simply a certification that costs more without delivering more. 4 of our 5 tasters placed this in their top 3 scores of this entire test. Dwar. 8.9 out of 10. Publix Greenwise delivered one of the strongest single performances in our entire testing series. The organic premium here is real and it shows up directly in the bowl store number 10. Sprouts. Grass-fed 80/15 ground beef. Price $8.99 per pound. Sprouts carries grass-fed ground beef as their primary offering in this category. Their 80/15 grind is leaner than the standard 80/20 we tested across most of the stores, and we noted this in scoring. Cooked result. The grass-fed beef flavor was distinctive and strong, more mineral and complex than grain-finished beef. The crust development was excellent. The interior was juicy despite the leaner grind. The flavor profile was bold and clearly high quality, with a natural depth that no conventional ground beef in this test approached. Tasters who prefer grass-fed beef rated this very highly. Tasters less familiar with the grass-fed flavor profile found it stronger than expected. 8.6 out of 10. Sprouts delivered an excellent grass-fed result. For households specifically seeking grass-fed beef, this was the strongest grass-fed performer in the test and represents excellent value for the category store number 11. HEB. Texas Beef 80/20 ground beef. Price $4.49 per pound. HEB appears in every one of our grocery store tests, and every single time they appear, they remind us why Texas grocery shoppers are among the most well-served in the country. Cooked result. The crust was exceptional. A deep and confident sear that immediately suggested high-quality fat content and a fresh grind. The interior was very juicy. The beef flavor was bold and direct, the kind of flavor that does not ask for your attention, it simply commands it. Rich, savory, unapologetically beefy in the best possible sense. One taster said this was the most enjoyable burger of the test, not the most refined or the most complex, but the most genuinely pleasurable to eat. 2 other tasters placed it in their top 3 score. 8.3 out of 10. $4.49 per pound. That score-to-price ratio makes HEB's ground beef one of the 2 or 3 best value propositions in this entire test and continues the pattern that HEB establishes in every category we put them in store number 12. Meijer. 8/20 ground beef. Price $3.68 per pound. Meijer is the Midwest grocery and general merchandise chain, and their house brand ground beef competes at the budget end alongside Walmart and Aldi. Cooked result. A step above Walmart. The crust developed slightly better. The beef flavor had a little more presence. The interior was marginally juicier. Not dramatically different, but in a direct side-by-side comparison, the Meijer patty had more going on. 6.3 out of 10. Meijer beats Walmart at a similar price. If you are a Midwest shopper deciding between these 2 stores for ground beef, the choice is clear. Store number 13, Wegmans, organic 80/20 ground beef. Price $9.49 per pound. Wegmans has finished near the top of every test in our series, and their organic ground beef carried the highest expectations of any product we cooked today. Cooked result. Extraordinary. The best crust of the entire test. A deep, even, complex sear with a color and aroma that made every taster look up from their notes before they had even taken a bite. The interior was the juiciest patty we cooked all day. The beef flavor was deeply rich, multi-layered, and satisfying in a way that built as you chewed and lingered beautifully after you swallowed. 2 tasters said this was the best burger they had eaten in months. Not the best in the test, the best in months. 9.1 out of 10. Wegmans delivered the highest individual score of our entire grocery store testing series across every product category we have tested. At $9.49 per pound, the price is real. So is the result. Store number 14, Whole Foods. Painted Hills Natural Beef 80/20. Price $10.99 per pound. Whole Foods carries a range of premium branded beef products alongside their house brand, and the Painted Hills Natural Beef program represents the highest tier of what they offer. Painted Hills is a cooperative of Pacific Northwest cattle ranchers producing natural beef without antibiotics or added hormones, grain finished for flavor, cooked result. The best burger of the test. By a clear and unambiguous margin, the crust was exceptional. The interior was the second most juicy patty we cooked, just behind Wegmans, but by a margin so small it was effectively a tie. The beef flavor was the most complex, most layered, most deeply satisfying of the entire test. There was something in the Painted Hills beef that none of the other products had, dollars a roundness and depth, to the flavor that built through the entire eating experience and finished with a warmth that lingered for nearly a minute. All 5 tasters placed this in their top 2 scores. 4 of 5 placed it first. 9.4 out of 10. The best ground beef we have ever tested. At nearly $11 per pound, it is the most expensive product in this test. But the quality gap between this and everything beneath it was the most dramatic quality gap in any category we have compared across this entire series. Now let us rank all 14 stores from worst to best. Number 14. Walmart Great Value at $3.78 per pound. Score 5.7, number 13. Sam's Club Members Mark at $3.98 per pound. Score 6.1, number 12. Meijer Store Brand at $3.68 per pound. Score 6.3, number 11. Costco Kirkland Signature at $4.49 per pound. Score 7.0, number 10. Target Good and Gather at $5.49 per pound. Score 7.2, number 9. Aldi Black Angus at $4.19 per pound. Score 8.0, number 8. Trader Joe's at $5.99 per pound. Score 8.1, number 7. Kroger Private Selection Grass-Fed at $7.99 per pound. Score 8.2, number 6. H-E-B Texas Beef at $4.49 per pound. Score 8.3, number 5. Whole Foods 365 at $6.99 per pound. Score 8.5, number 4. Sprouts Grass-Fed at $8.99 per pound. Score 8.6, number 3. Publix Greenwise Organic at $8.49 per pound. Score 8.9, number 2. Wegmans Organic at $9.49 per pound. Score 9.1, and number 1. Whole Foods Painted Hills Natural Beef at $10.99 per pound. Score 9.4. Here is what this test taught us. Lesson 1. The quality of ground beef is more variable across stores than any other product we have tested in this series. The gap between the lowest score and the highest score was 3.7 points out of 10. In our hot dog test, the gap was 3.3. In our sausage test, it was 3.5. Ground beef showed the largest spread of any category, which means where you buy matters more for ground beef than for almost anything else we have tested. Lesson 2. Aldi is doing something genuinely remarkable. $4.19 per pound for a score of 8 out of 10 is not a coincidence or a lucky batch. It is consistent sourcing executed well. The gap between Aldi and Walmart at similar price points is larger in ground beef than in any other category we have tested. If you are buying ground beef from Walmart and an Aldi exists near you, you owe it to yourself to make the switch. Lesson 3. H-E-B at $4.49, scoring 8.3 is the best pure value finding of the entire test. The Aldi result is slightly more dramatic because the price is slightly lower. But for sheer value per dollar, H-E-B is delivering a product that competes directly with options costing more than twice as much per pound. Every time we test a new category, H-E-B reminds us that regional grocery excellence is real, and it is specifically worth seeking out. Lesson 4. The premium tier in ground beef is genuinely earned in a way that is not always true in other categories. The top 3 finishers, Publix Greenwise Organic, Wegmans Organic, and Painted Hills at Whole Foods, all scored above 9 points, or within a single decimal place of it. These are real quality differences, not marketing differences. If you care about the quality of your ground beef and you are willing to pay for it, the money spent at the top of the price range in this category produces results that justify the cost. Lesson 5. Grass-fed beef tastes different, not just better. The Kroger Private Selection Grass-Fed and the Sprouts Grass-Fed both performed strongly but also tasted distinctively different from the grain-finished options. If you have not tried grass-fed beef before, be aware that the flavor profile is genuinely different, more mineral and complex. Some people prefer it strongly, some people find it unfamiliar. The test result tells you the quality is real. Your own palate will tell you whether the flavor is for you. Here is what you should know about what actually differs between a $3 per pound patty and an $11 per pound patty. At the budget end of the market, ground beef is typically produced from a blend of trim cuts, from multiple animals processed at large-scale facilities. The grind is consistent, but the beef is undifferentiated, meaning there is no specific breed selection, no specific diet management, and no specific regional source. The fat content is standardized, but the quality of the fat reflects the diet the cattle ate, which at this price point is almost exclusively commodity corn and grain-based feed. As the price rises, you begin to see breed selection, with Black Angus appearing at the mid-tier because Angus cattle are generally recognized to produce better marbled beef. You see diet differentiation, with grass-fed options producing the distinctively different flavor profile we discussed. You see antibiotic-free and hormone-free certifications at the organic tier. And at the very top, you see specific rancher programs like Painted Hills, where the cattle are raised under a specific protocol by a specific group of ranchers whose practices are verified and whose product is traceable in a way that commodity ground beef never is. All of these differences show up in the eating experience, not as marketing claims, as flavor, as texture, as satisfaction. That is what our blind test demonstrated. Here are our practical recommendations based on everything we tasted. If budget is your first priority, buy Aldi Black Angus ground beef. $4.19 per pound with a score of 8 out of 10. Nothing else at that price comes close, and nothing close to that price comes close to that score. If you want the best value to quality ratio in the test overall, the answer is HEB if you live in Texas and Aldi if you do not. Both deliver scores above 8 at prices under $5 per pound. That is the sweet spot of this entire comparison. If you shop at Costco regularly and cook ground beef in volume, the Kirkland Signature at $4.49 per pound is a genuine improvement over Walmart and Sam's Club, and a smart bulk purchase. If you want genuinely premium ground beef without reaching the very top of the price range, Whole Foods 365 at $6.99 per pound scored 8.5 and comes with sourcing standards that matter, said. That is the practical premium recommendation for shoppers who want quality without committing to $9 or $10 per pound. If you want the best ground beef you can buy at a grocery store without any price constraint, the Painted Hills Natural Beef at Whole Foods is the answer. It is the best ground beef we have ever tested. The score of 9.4 reflects an eating experience that is qualitatively different from anything else in this comparison. We went into this test expecting the rankings to track price closely. They did not. The Aldi result at 8.0 for $4.19. The HEB result at 8.3 for $4.49. The Costco result at 7.0, while Sam's Club at a similar price scored nearly a full point lower. None of that was predictable. The ground beef aisle contains real variation in quality and real differences in value. The store you walk into matters more for ground beef than for almost anything else you put in your cart. And the difference between a good choice and a poor choice at this particular grocery store category may be larger than any other decision you make in the meat department. Now you know exactly which choice to make. Which result surprised you most? Drop it in the comments. We read every single one. And if you have a local butcher shop or a farmer's market beef option you think would challenge these results, we genuinely want to hear about it. Hit subscribe for more honest blind comparisons every week. No sponsorships, no preferred outcomes, no brand deals. Just real testing and real results. We will see you in the next one.